Hello, everyone. I just wanted to give you an idea of who we are, Oakmont Senior Living. We are a recognized leader in retirement living, and we are providing communities throughout California and in Nevada. We have currently over 46 communities in the Oakmont portfolio. And so here in Northern California, we are Fountaingrove Lodge and the Terraces. We're located on a lush 10-acre campus with a golf course and an oak grove with mountain views in the heart of Sonoma County. Fountaingrove Lodge is the nation's first lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, friends-focused, independent senior community with the option of continuing care services. Life at Oakmont is meant to be full of vitality, joy, and purpose, and our enthusiastic team helps residents structure their time so that every day is full of engaging activities, meaningful social connections with others. The Terraces is a community on our property here for people with memory loss. The Terraces Memory Care Community Program provides compassionate care for all stages of memory loss associated with Alzheimer's disease and other related dementias. Our parallel program is designed to complement our residents' individual needs and enrich their daily lives by offering multiple levels of care in a single community. A soothing environment and specialized activities based on music, sensory, and tactile stimulation. Our compassionate and specially trained team engage residents with extra care and patience as they may need. Resident-centered care is this.
Sorry.
No, Jeff, where are you going?
I've got to mute myself because I'm causing feedback. So give me one moment.
Okay, sorry about that. Sorry. So just, our resident-centered care is the cornerstone of Oakmont's memory care programs, and it's the foundation of our program. So what I would like to do is introduce Marissa Goldman. Marissa Goldman is our Health Services Director. She's going to start with some history of Snoezelen.
Okay, so my name is Marissa Goldman, like Cheryl just said, and I'm the nurse and health services director of both the Fountaingrove Lodge and the Terraces Memory Care. So I wanted to give you guys some backstory about where the concept of Snoezelen actually derived from, to provide a good introduction as to why we decided to start integrating that into our programming as well. So in the 60s and 70s, there was a very big impact of increasing mental illness and challenges associated with that population. And the real root of the challenges that they faced were associated with the quality of life that these individuals faced and their inability to interact within their social confines. And then the limited suitable activities that were available. There was not a lot of focus on what they could do to enhance the capabilities of this population, particularly for those with nonverbal cognitive disorders, and then also for the autistic population as well. So the goal was to find a different way to provide programming that helps stimulate these individuals and give them meaning and purpose so that they could have better relationships with their caregivers and also improve their quality of life. So in the late 1970s, forgive me for butchering their names, Jan Hulsegi and Ann Verhal. So Jan Hulsegi was actually a music therapist and Ad Verhal was a occupational therapist. So they actually worked together to put together the sensory tent that was at a summer fair that occurred in the Netherlands. And the idea was to have an environment that helped trigger all different sensory lanes. So like touch, scent, taste, and sight, to actually hone in on what the areas that these individuals could actually continue to utilize. There was such a great benefit that they were able to observe from this tent that they continued to create different sensory environments in all different areas, England, and then in 1992 it actually came to New York City in the Lifespire. They had their first Snoezelen Room. So still, even today in 2021, Snoezelen Rooms are things that people know about, but they're not very widely used. And there also hasn't been a lot of evidentiary support to show the benefits of it and enough education to really allow people to feel empowered to utilizing the spaces. So the philosophy and benefits behind the Snoezelen Room is to maximize the sensory motor abilities of people with dementia. Ooh, I'm sorry, my chair went down. So the idea is that we're trying to allow these individuals to utilize what they still have abilities to use. So if you notice with people with dementia, they tend to have decreased ability to communicate, understand. You notice a lot of apathy and difficulty engaging in social settings. So our goal is to really create a specialized leisure activity which allows them to experience different environments and feel like they're getting out. Because a lot of times they're limited by their physical limitations or maybe even the behavioral limitations, safety-wise. So it allows them to have a different type of environment to promote relaxation and to also get them out of the confines of being in a communal living. It can be very stressful for individuals to be amongst a lot of people, especially when they're coming from a home environment. There's this notion that I read, nothing has to be done, everything is allowed. So it's not about creating expectations for the individual in the Snoezelen environment or the multisensory environment. It's about allowing them to decide how they interact with the environment itself. You allow the resident, the patient, to elect what they feel comfortable going to, and you give them the autonomy to guide themselves and attract themselves to the media that's actually in this multisensory environment. It allows the time for people to really have an individual experience without any type of limitation. When you come into the typical setting of an assisted living with a memory care unit, it's all very structured for them. So you start seeing this new integration of this Montessori style of engagement for the residents to give them that autonomy, to give them that individual person-centered approach so that they have more dignity in the moment and they have the ability to still have choices, and they're being treated as individuals, not just as this population that we think we can shape their day and what would make them happy. It's about giving them that freedom to set their own goals in a day and to engage in a way that makes them feel most pleasurable. Some of the challenges that we face in memory care, and not only in memory care, but even for those individuals that are at home with their loved ones, is you deal with a lot of aggressive behavioral expression. And a lot of times that aggressive behavior is the inability to communicate a need that's not being met. And sometimes those needs could be pain, it can be anxiety, it can be frustration. There's also difficulty to communicate. There is difficulty with understanding. There's a lot of anxiety and fear with care, and then an environment. So when we receive residents that are moving into our community, it's a whole new experience for these individuals, and it can be very frightening because they don't have the ability to engage in their environment in a way that they feel comfortable. And they lack the confidence and the self-esteem to be able to maneuver, and by way creating a lot of fear. When you're losing parts of your brain ability, it can cause a lot of frustration as well, and a lot of anger and depression. So the problem that they face is all very real, and it needs to be validated so that they can feel like they're in a safer environment. And it's our job as caregivers to anticipate those needs and to find ways to improve their way of communicating with us and showing us what those needs are so that we can meet them. You know, there's a lot of different things that we can do, and what we were going through as a team is trying to find different ways of managing behaviors in our setting. The initial response is usually to go with that medication management venue, and what we really wanted to do was to focus on that individualized approach to our residents and to create dynamic spaces to allow for resident engagement. So that means you're gonna be seeing a video of our Snoezelen Room, but all of the items in our Snoezelen Room are able to be moved and adjusted and tailored to each individual's experience. So sometimes we might create little multisensory spaces throughout our community, depending on what the need is for our population. The goal is to stimulate the senses to promote quality of life. So the sensory motor channels are some of the only things that are still intact with our residents with dementia. And they're a very important part of quality of life, because if you think about, you know, music can trigger an emotion that you felt the first time you ever heard that song. And that's in your long-term memory bank. And you can remember lots of memories from just hearing certain sounds or even songs. Taste is another thing. You know, meals and food are super important for our residents towards the end of their life and through the progression of the disease. So the idea is that you're able to stimulate these senses, multiple different channels of the senses, in a positive, relaxing way, and in turn you get the positive feedback that you're looking for from that individual. We use different types of lights and different types of fabrics or familiar items like stones or wood pieces or clips and different things that will trigger that identification that the person can make with those objects. You want to be able to find things that can bring that person meaning. So it's really important to know your patient or your resident so that you can create an individualized multisensory experience. So this is one of our ways that we're using to step away from the antipsychotic, psychotropic pharmaceutical medications in management of behaviors and negative things that you see with people with dementia. It's also a way for us to develop a trusting relationship between residents and care staff. When the care staff is involved in the multisensory environment with the resident, it creates a sense of camaraderie, and it allows them to have that moment to bond and to open up those pathways of communication, whether it be nonverbal or verbal. So what has been proven in various studies, and also what we've been able to see in our practice of using this room, is improved communication. So I'm not talking about drastic improvement. I'm talking just, you will see changes from somebody who might have not had a lot to say before, very apathetic, just no type of personality or reaction. You'll start to see an improved communication. They'll start to be a little bit more engaged and actually participate with social interactions. Reduction of fears and anxieties. The fear and anxiety comes from the unknown and distrust between that resident and the caregiver. And it also stems from just having misunderstanding. So when you're able to stimulate these pathways of the sensory motor system, you improve their ability to utilize those things to bring sense and meaning to a day-to-day life. So just for some statistics in our community ourselves, in January 2020, so last year, we had 40% of our residents were on some type of antipsychotic medication. Typical antipsychotics that you see, Ativan, and then Seroquel is also very common. The reason why we wanted to get away from that is because they actually have a really negative effect on that population. It's used almost as a chemical restraint. Sometimes it's the only thing that helps in getting those individuals under control. But in reality, like I said earlier, the behaviors that you're witnessing are due to a need that's not being met. So it's our job as caregivers, as medical professionals, to do the work and find out why this person is actually acting this way. Because it could be pain related. There could be an underlying medical condition that hasn't been addressed or even looked at because they have dementia and they say, well, they're old. So, there's a lack of investigation that happens on the medical practitioner's part. It could be fear related. The anxiety could be just understimulation, the need to have more activities that are more geared to what they're actually physically capable of doing and that are more meaningful to them as well. So we had 40% of our residents on antipsychotics, which is really not ideal. We tend to see as the antipsychotics start to wear off, and while they're on the antipsychotics, they're very high fall risk, very confused, and sometimes they just look very sedated, and there's nobody home. You just kind of see somebody. That's when you have that very negative image of memory cares of just people sitting in their wheelchairs looking like zombies in the hallway, right? But when they start to come off of those antipsychotic medications, they actually have a worse effect than before when they even had gotten the medication. They have increased confusion, which in turn leads to worsening behaviors because they're coming out of a daze and cannot make sense of it because they're already at a disadvantage because of their cognitive inability. So in 2021, this year, we have only about 10% of our residents on any type of antipsychotic or psychotropic medications. Now, this being said, we can't account it all to the Snoezelen because it's a whole approach that you have to take. And what's amazing is that you have to look at the whole picture for the individual, just like when we're talking about holistic medicine for even myself or anybody else. It's about looking at what kind of food are we giving them? What type of other activities and purpose are we bringing them? What type of social interaction is being provided? What are the medical, what type of medical issues is that person facing that we can, provide support for to help? And then there's the Snoezelen Room, which also is another tool for us. And what I love about the Snoezelen Room is that it's something that even the caregivers love to be a part of. We actually had one of our one of our VPs of operations come, and he was doing a tour of our memory care. He went down to our Snoezelen room, and I think he spent 20 minutes sitting in there just enjoying it with our memory care director, Jeff. And they ended up having the whole rest of their meeting in the Snoezelen room, and he expressed how much he felt relaxed, unbothered, just felt like he was almost recentered after leaving that room. And so it's not only beneficial for our dementia patients, it's also beneficial for our caregiving staff. We've also had a reduction in behavioral disturbances. So this provides a good outlet for some of our residents. They can be overstimulated very, very easily in a communal setting because there's a lot of people. And sometimes there's other behaviors that they're also witnessing and they're being subjected to. And it's not easy for anybody to be in that type of situation. So it provides a safe place for them to kind of escape from the normal day-to-day of the communal living as well. So what we've been able to see with the effects of behavioral expression for those with dementia is that overstimulated residents end up becoming more calm and content. Understimulated residents have the ability to participate at their level and experience expression of emotion. So it helps stimulate their brain to kind of start working again, to be able to express themselves, to engage. And it's really magical to watch. And then also, you know, when you incorporate food into these environments, you're able to increase their participation with food consumption. We have a lot of residents that because of their anxiety, because of their behaviors, they're too busy to eat. So you try to get them to go and sit down to eat, and they just won't sit down for a meal. So we have to, as caregivers and medical staff, also become more adaptive. And I think that the whole concept behind all of this presentation today is to empower those who are dealing with people with dementia to be adaptive in their environments and to utilize tools that they can find from just doing that digging, investigating, and also getting to know that patient themselves to improve the experience that they're having on a day-to-day basis, which in turn will improve their quality of life and also your quality of life as the caregiver. So we also see that, you know, some withdrawn residents become more expressive and engaged. And that's something that is very powerful to watch as well, because you feel very defeated when you observe people with dementia that just look like there's nobody home. And you hear about, or maybe you even knew that individual before the dementia started progressing, and you know who they are and that this is not who they were before. And it's also not the type of life that they want to continue to live. The most important thing for this aging population is to preserve their quality of life. You've gone through life, going through whatever, you know, trials and tribulations that you have to face, positive experiences, family, growth, to get to a point where you have loss of complete control over your destiny. And it's not to be forgotten that this population is going through this. We actually have a huge population of people that are being diagnosed with cognitive impairment, Alzheimer's, dementia, and it's hard to place them now. And I'm sure a lot of you in the Life Planning Network know that. You have a lot of psychiatric type of challenges that they face as well. So it's our job to continue to create spaces, safe spaces for this population, and to educate ourselves on a regular basis to ensure that we can provide the correct support for them. They also have improved ability to communicate needs via nonverbal communication. And sometimes it's just them being able to engage more and have more willingness to point out what they want, to show you what they actually are trying to say. And then confidence from care provider and reduction in frustration. I think that what we notice in community settings, and sometimes even at home when you have, one-on-one caregivers, is the caregiver gets very focused on the tasks that are supposed to be completed. And in turn, when they're not able to complete their task in the time frame that they think they need to be doing it, it causes a lot of frustration, resentment, and then in turn, that gets reflected onto the resident, and it's counterproductive. As a manager of caregivers, and Jeff can speak to it as well, it's our job to give them the tools to have that confidence, have that training to be able to interact with these residents and achieve the result that they're intending on. And giving them tools like utilizing the Snoezelen Room is a dual benefit, because it gives them time away from what their normal tasks and mundane and challenges that they're facing, to be in an environment that's playful, that's soothing, relaxing, and that gives them more one-on-one time with the resident as well. And here's the movie of our sensory room. So this is just an example of what a Snoezelen room could look like. In the movie, we have literally all of our devices on. For some individuals, this might be too overstimulating, so we might not have all of these items on at the same time. Again, it's important to allow the resident, when they're in that space, to have the autonomy to choose what they are attracted to and what they want to engage with. We can't have any expectations set. It's all about trial and error and allowing them to have the autonomy. What we do in this space, when we have the fish like this on the screen, is we'll have like ocean waves kind of resounding. We'll have our aromatherapy going as well, to stimulate those senses, to bring you into that environment of being at the ocean. And then, if it works out too, we'll have some food items too and beverages to go along with it, just so that they can have that sense of feeling totally engulfed in this environment. Because if you think about it, a lot of these individuals may not ever leave the memory care. And usually, like I said earlier, it has to do with the restrictions that they have due to their disabilities. And I'm going to pass it off to Kelsey now. She's going to talk about some of the items that we use, and give some advice for those of you who are having your patients at home, and how you can create kind of little mini sensory environments in your own home at a low cost. Because if you look up Snoezelen products themselves, they can be very, very expensive, but there are alternatives to them. So I'm going to pass it off to Kelsey now.
Thank you so much, Marissa. Yeah, so, as you could see from the video, Honestly, it doesn't really do it justice unless you're in the room itself, but it is a multi-sensory environment. We really focus on the various senses, the sense of sight, smell, taste, touch, hearing. And so we really want to highlight those various senses. And what's so great is you can purchase any of these items on Amazon. I was just blown away when Marissa and I and the whole team were working towards creating the Snoezelen, just how accessible the items are on Amazon. So this item here is our ocean wave projector. And what's so beautiful about this item is you can place it in any area. While we have a lot of items in our Snoezelen, you can pare it down to just a few items to fit the needs for the room that you have, whether it's a closet or your bedroom or your living room. You can pare these items down to fit the needs that you wish to have. So we also have a lot of things that are really easy to transport. During COVID, this whole period, we have been able to dismantle portions of our Snoezelen and actually move it to the rest of our communities so that our residents are still able to enjoy the environments without any sort of change. One of the items is our bubble machine, which I highly recommend. Not only is it fun because you can touch the bubbles, but just the visualization paired with the lights, it's just truly a magnificent sight. And again, you know, you can transfer this into any sort of room, a large room, small room, a closet. Any of these items can be kind of compounded together or used individually, especially the essential oils. We really enjoy using those in our Snoezelen. There's just so much variety, and the different scents of aromatherapy really can uplift a person or relax a person. Then we also have this really awesome cube chair light, which actually changes color. So we've had residents come up to these cubes and touch them, and the light changes color, but they can also sit on it as well. Then we also have our twiddle sensory tube, which again, we really focus on person-centered and creating an item for residents to use that is multi-sensory, and this sensory tube is really awesome. Finally, these two items I really highly recommend for any sort of room is this fiber optic lamp. Texturally, it's very pleasing, and with the light, it's just really calming for many of our residents. They'll just brush their fingers through. I've even had residents brush their faces with it because it's just such a calming, relaxing, texturally pleasing sort of item. And finally, we have the bubble tube, which is what it is. It bubbles and it changes color, and it's got some wonderful fish in there. And like I said, at the beginning of the pandemic, we did dismantle portions of our Snoezelen and moved it to other areas of our community. And what was so wonderful about the bubble tube is we had residents who were able to access it much easier. So yeah, wonderful items. And I'm going to move it on to this. Here is our QR code. So if you actually take a photo of it, it will send you to the Terraces Fountaingrove Lodge Amazon wish list. So you can actually view any of these items and you can purchase them for your convenience. Thank you.
So I just wanted to really thank you guys all. We have, you know, we have the list that we have on Amazon that we add more things to as we find it successful. I can put that QR back on the screen. You're welcome to scan it and save the link and occasionally come back and check it. And typically more items will be added. We're very excited about everything we've been able to accomplish, everything we've been able to show off and do with our residents and the local community. And, you know, thank you all for letting us be involved and participate in this well. David, I really appreciate it. We've had a great time, and thank you so much. That's it for our presentation on our multisensory environment.
Well, that was, yes, a round of applause. Certainly. Well done. And thank you. There's already a lot of chat going on in the chat screen, which means that people have questions. And since we're all gathered here on my screen, I can see if you'll raise your hand, I will be happy to call on you and let you ask your question. Who's beginning this round?
Luann has a question.
Oh, good. I can't see it.
Hi. You know, just curious, I'm wondering whether the positive behaviors that you observe when they're in the Snoezelen room, how long do they last once they leave the room? In other words, are you hoping that what they achieve there will transfer to the rest of their lives, or it's just a place to go to get away from everything else?
So, do you want to answer this, Scott?
Take it away, please, because you're the one who's had all the experience with that. Please take it away.
So usually it's something that will last for a few hours that day. The real benefit of the Snoezelen environment is not to think that it's going to be a one time is going to fix it forever. It has to be similar to how you're doing physical therapy, occupational therapy. It has to be a continued use, almost scheduled into their daily routine, to provide them with that time to kind of reset themselves from a sensory motor standpoint. But it's not something that you're going to see drastic changes in until it goes on for a period of time. And really what we're trying to do is we're trying to preserve as much of their independence as we possibly can. And I mean that in lieu of also communication, and then also their ability to participate in social environments.
Hi, I'm wondering how long is, what's the typical amount of time that the resident spends in the room?
I would say about 15 to 30 minutes. It all depends on their actual ability, and it's totally up to them how long they're in there as well. So each individual is going to be very different, but I would say on average about 15 to 30 minutes.
And is it always one individual at a time?
Not always. It just depends on the situation. So there's some individuals in our memory care that we're able to bring in 2 or 3 at a time. And it's more so like a fun time for them to be able to engage with different things that make them feel good. For those individuals that are really that are expressing anxiety and frustration in the environment, and it might be due to overstimulation because of all of the, things that are going on in the communal living, those individuals, would need to have an individualized experience where there's nobody else but them and the caregiver. Does that make sense?
I think we've also had a lot of success with some of our residents who have challenges with insomnia and sleep concerns. We've had residents who, are up throughout the night and have difficulty sleeping, go in that room and they're asleep within 10 minutes. And we will then take that time to let them get a little bit of rest in there, because it's a better solution for us than immediately grabbing a medication to try to help manage that sleep. It doesn't involve the same kind of wear off points and difficult side effects that come from the medication. So there have been times that we've had residents in there for an hour or 2 hours because they're getting some sleep and they're relaxed. And, how can you interrupt somebody when they're like that, So It just depends on the individual.
There's been a lot in the chat about research. So I wanted to ask, do you participate in studies? Is there communication with organizations that are doing research and also other users of the Snoezelen technique to improve what you're doing and just share knowledge?
Not at this time. This is actually the first, event that we've had where we've been able to discuss what we're doing. We actually put this room together right before the pandemic hit. So it has made it harder for us to be able to utilize it to its fullest extent, and also to be able to, share what we're doing with other people. So this is, the first of, I hope to be many interactions that we have with other professionals. And I hope that we can do a study and participate in a study so that we can help get the word out about these alternative means of helping with management of our dementia population.
I think another element of that, is that we're very much on the ground with a practical applied within a community sense. Even though all of us have done our individual schooling, we don't get the opportunity as much as we'd like to participate in the study because our program's evolving in real time. So we don't have the same controlled variables that maybe a study or a research group would do. A lot of what we experience, of course, is personal anecdotal experience in relation to our residents here, but it's also on the ground adaptations as we discover successful or unsuccessful tools for our personal community.
I have a question. Hi, this is does someone need to be in the room with them at all times when they're in the room? Okay.
Yes, that is for safety for obviously our community and under our licensure, but it's also very much recommended in general because it can continue to foster that relationship between the care provider, the family member, whoever would be with them at that time. It's kind of like, we always say here, we don't expect the residents to come to our level. We expect ourselves to go down and meet them where they are. And so that's a prime moment to really bond with maybe an individual care provider or a family member in that room and show that there's some camaraderie there, a similar experience that's occurring.
And can I ask a follow-up question? Pardon me. When a resident first goes into the room, how do they typically choose? What have you observed in terms of how they typically choose an item to interact with?
They like to gravitate just throughout the building or throughout the room, but mostly they gravitate towards those cool little fiber optic light things. Those are like the first things that they gravitate towards 9 times out of 10 in my experience. They love it. They plop right down in the chair and they just spend good 5-7 minutes just combing through the fiber optic light.
Kelsey, do we know anything about the why of that, the brain science behind it, or this in general?
I think just it feels good. It looks good. It's visually appealing. And then when you get up to it and you feel just how soft and kind of slippery it is, it's just like a textural overload of, ooh, this is good.
And you said it feels rubbery. Is that what you once told me?
Yeah, exactly.
So I have a question. How many residents have you had who have participated in this? I mean, what are we looking at here in terms of numbers?
In some degree to another, all of our residents have participated in it. We are a 33-bed community. I would say, they've each been in there at some point or the other. Residents who are displaying particularly challenging expressions will spend more time in there as a way of trying to help them within the community sense. Of course, we're under the auspices, the umbrella of a community, but as many people deal with these kinds of challenges in their personal home or in small boarding cares, you would find that you would have different kind of experiences and interactions But at some point or another, all of our residents have been in the room. Most of our staff have been in the room. And as we said earlier, our executive management team has been in the room, and found it to be successful for not only those with cognitive impairment, but the care providers and the stresses of their daily job. You know, if they take a break in there and they come out feeling more refreshed, which in turn translates to a better care, more interested care.
Well, that's good. Actually, the reason I asked this question is that, you know, an N, if you will, an N of 30 would be sufficient for an experimental group if you could pair that in some way with another group from a comparable kind of facility that did not have, you know, access to a Snoezelen room, and look at some of the outcomes. I mean, I'm just thinking about ways that, you know, you could really, you know, do some, you know, research potentially, and try to demonstrate the benefits of your program in that way. So an N of 30 is good. That's all I'm saying. That's good.
Yeah, no, that's, you know, that's kind of where we've been at, is that typically that 30-person range, and we see a wide difference of experiences within those 30 people, as you would expect from 30 people with dementia, are all going to be experiencing it differently. So.
And Jeff, I would just say Donna is the executive director of the Gerontological Society of America and has done vast amount of research.
No.
No. Did I get it wrong?
The Gerontological Society of America is the
Sorry. Sorry. I slipped. My mistake.
Yes, that's like thousands.
Tell me the correct title.
Mine is the National Association for Professional Gerontology.
Sorry, my apologies.
So we have an N of about, you know, 600-700, I think.
But we'll take it.
I think Bruce's sounded better, his description.
It's certainly a pay raise.
Yeah, it's a pay.
Yeah.
But Donna has done a great deal of research over the years, so.
I was just thinking there are certainly opportunities. There are a number of, and Luann knows this as well, there are a number of academic institutions in the Bay Area that have programs of different sorts, where they're always looking for opportunities for, you know, student research. And that is not to just say, you know, students doing work for a thesis or a dissertation, but also with, you know, faculty supervision and faculty mentors and so forth. So all I'm saying is the program is, I think, very interesting, you know, and it's very innovative. And I'll bet you could find folks here in the Bay Area who would, you know, love to partner with you to work on some projects. So I don't know, maybe we could kibitz a little offline and, you know, give you
That would be great.
some ideas.
Anna's just up the road in Healdsburg, so might want to get together and talk, well, in non-pandemic time.
Well, of course, I mean, virtually anyway, right?
Yeah. I would love to pick your brain a little bit about that offline. So
Sure.
we'll have to get in touch.
I've got a question, and some people have chimed in, thank you, on which of the devices have been especially helpful with sleeping. And to the extent that, so again, if there's any other favorites that have worked out especially well, and what do you believe is the application for a non-dementia population for people? I have a particular client who does not have dementia, but has severe insomnia issues. So to the extent that it carries over to other populations as well, any feedback on that?
Well, the light that we were describing in the messages, so that is actually, it's a very inexpensive light. Mm-hmm. And there's a couple different things that it can do. It can either go green, blue, purple, and it kind of looks like waves on you can put on the ceiling or the wall. And it also has Bluetooth capabilities and comes with its own sounds in it as well, like nature sounds. Like there's sounds like frogs and like crickets kind of going, or waves. And then you can put any type of music that you want to through there as well. Before we actually integrated it into our Snoezelen, I ran an experiment with my son who had trouble going to sleep. He always needed to have a TV on and sound, otherwise, a lot of kids are scared of the dark, right? Mm-hmm. So I would put that on for him and have the toads and cricket sounds. And it actually helped him a lot to go to sleep. I asked him, how do you like it? And he says, I really like it. It makes me feel really relaxed. And, you know, they like the color projection. It's not too bright. So that's the nice thing about it. You can also put it on a timer, so it eventually does cut off. But for a lot of people, I think now especially, they need to have some type of noise, especially when you're having insomnia, because your brain can be your biggest enemy when you have insomnia, because you kind of talk to yourself, right? So to really, again, like a lot of these things that we're talking about with Snoezelen can be applied to people who don't have any disadvantages with their brain capabilities, right? The goal is to create an environment that's very soothing, that's very calming. You take away stimulation. And my advice for somebody who's suffering from any type of insomnia is to create a routine that kind of lets them reset themselves and, again, go through the pathways of your sensory motor. You know, utilize very calming sounds, smells, like even like lavender essential oils, or even taking a bath with some essential oils in it before you go to sleep. Having some type of, you know, tea, like chamomile tea or something, you know, all of those things can contribute to helping people relax and go to sleep. And I do see there's a question about use of CBD for sleep.
That was mine.
We are actually
Shocked.
we are actually very, very supportive of the use of CBD as an alternative medication for our residents in our memory care. And the reason why is because CBD has such a wide range of therapeutic values. There is a couple of our people that do use a CBD THC capsule for sleep. And sometimes we use gummies too, because they can be effective with, you know, our residents that might be more suspicious about what we're trying to give them. I know if you work with people, you know that you've heard that before. But yes, and actually Chella, who's on here, she's a really great resource as well to talk to about, you know, different products that can be used. PharmaCann is actually one of the only dispensaries. It's actually more of like a pharmacy that we can use in our setting, because they have bubble packs and they have exact dosages. So it makes it really beneficial for us. But yes, CBD is a great tool to use with dementia patients.
Joyce, you had a couple of good questions in there. You want to ask your questions? Unmute yourself. Unmute. You're muted, Joyce.
Sorry, I was curious about just listening to this conversation. Have any applications of this been tried in break rooms at work sites nationwide? And especially I'm thinking high stress environments.
I think that you see it a lot more. I don't know if you've paid attention to like high schools creating these like meditative rooms and things like that.
Yep, that's why I'm asking, because I used to work at one and we created just that. But I see this as something that could be far more effective. Yeah, it totally could be, because for me, if I could, I would sit in there all day. It's just so it's so relaxing, you know, and it's almost surreal how just sitting in an environment that has these relaxing sounds and these lights, and just I literally will sit there and touch the fiber optic little things too, and just sit there and just kind of touch them like this, and it makes you feel good. And it's a way to kind of reset yourself, and then you walk out of there and you feel refreshed, feel like you can actually deal with the stresses of, you know, we have a very high stress job here too. And we actually encourage our staff to go in there on their own if they want to come in there if that's what they want to do. Trying to make a big push to utilizing it to its fullest extent.
Do you have any sense of, I'm sorry, Joyce, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you. I was just going to ask, if I didn't have a chance to do the research, how broadly this is used in assisted living communities around the country, and is there any connection among communities that are using it? I think Marissa may have frozen.
Whoops.
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. Sunrise is popular for having multisensory environments. I believe they're nationwide retirement community. It's much smaller in a lot of circumstances. It's more reserved. We had the unique ability of having a movie theater in our memory care setting, which just was used, but it wasn't used to the best ability as a movie theater for obvious reasons, for a lot of residents who, maybe not able to keep up with a movie for the whole time or get distracted or those various concerns. So we kind of adopted this, and see if my boss is still on here. No, okay. So we adopted this.
Yes, she is.
We adopted this kind of do it and, kind of make those motions and ask for forgiveness later. Because we kept it modular. All those items can really be removed. They're all chargeable, so you can charge them and then remove them from the cord and place them in various areas. And we wanted to make sure that we could revert it back to a movie theater at any moment if need be. But I do know that a couple of communities have incorporated those, but not to the best that it could be. And even for us, we're learning as we go, adding new items, growing it better. One of the hard things to see in the video, because it's a dark environment, is that we have fake ivy on the walls to add for some tactile sensory abilities, and those kinds of things that play into it can be adapted to any space and then easily covered up. Could be up the curtains or anything to go back to a movie theater. But it just doesn't seem to be as widespread as we had hoped. And I think some of the challenges with that come from the various strategies of the marketing on part of the developers of the idea. And also the industry is changing. The approach in the industry is changing. It wasn't long ago that the solution, for example, to people who are having difficult behavioral expressions with dementia was reality orientation. They'd be asking for their mother, and you would be constantly reminding them that their mother has passed away, which I think now we kind of view as cruel in a way. That's not necessarily the appropriate approach. So I think the industry is changing. The industry is changing when it comes to things like cannabis and CBD as well. The reefer madness generation is now finding positive uses for these kinds of tools. And so I would not be surprised. And I think, part of the reason why we were encouraged to do this is that we would like to see the industry really push forward in this direction over the next 10 to 15 years in conjunction with these other tools like CBD, to provide the best environment we can for an aging population. And it seems an increased prevalence of dementia and Alzheimer's related cognitive impairment. We're seeing it more and more.
And I think too, another aspect of challenge is that what we're facing is hospitals are discharging people a lot faster with more, acute conditions, and even not even going to skilled nursing facilities. So assisted livings have received a huge impact of the amount of demand that we're receiving from a skilled standpoint. So we've been having to kind of figure it out as we go along, and it has been a huge challenge. But I think the biggest thing that we can do as industry leaders is we can empower ourselves to educate ourselves and to do things like this, where we're talking with a wide variety of people that are in the same industry as we are, facing the same challenges that we face, so we can work collaboratively to come up with different ways to support this population, because it's not going to change. We've gotten into this magical art of preserving life for a lot longer than, nature originally intended. So because of that, we have to have the right supportive things put in place to support us as we age. And that involves a lot of teamwork. It involves a lot of collaborative thinking. And as Jeff spoke to, we're more in the front lines, we're in the practical world. And our expertise mixed with, you know, medical professionals' expertise mixed with people that are dealing with it at home is really valuable and should be more widely available to help people that are struggling right now.
I think that the added benefit, if I may, just the added benefit of us, you know, trying a program like this is that naturally the competitiveness of the industry will cause more retirement and assisted living communities to kind of get involved in this as well. So there's some intent on our part to not only kind of do it for our residents, but if our competitors see it as well and they build it in their own community, it's a win-win for the residents of all of those assisted living and retirement communities. So we're very kind of open to this idea of, you know, people copying us a little bit. That's what we'd like to see, because in the end, we're all involved in this industry for the same thing. Exactly.
Yeah,
we're all here for the same thing.
Yeah.
You're one of the few LGBT facilities. Is everybody in your facility have dementia or need skilled nursing?
In our Terraces memory care, which is on the campus of Fountaingrove Lodge, that's just memory care. In our main building at the lodge, it's independent and assisted living. So we don't actually have skilled nursing here on site.
Marissa, I'm wondering if, because in your presentation, all of you, I think, mentioned the impact on the staff, the positive impact on the staff of this kind of treatment plan and intervention with the Snoezelen rooms. And have you done any, are you aware, is there more staff retention? Because this is such, I think, a difficult, challenging job, even as a loving person who wants to do this work and wants to care for elders or people with this cognitive disabilities. But have you noticed any impact on the retention of staff as a result of this shift away from antipsychotics to a more holistic sensory approach?
I think that your point is very, very valid. You know, what a lot of people don't realize is how stressful working in a dementia environment is. You deal with people trying to hit you, digging their nails into you, throwing poop at you. You know, these are all things that most people cannot even imagine why people work in this industry. And what I will say, with a huge exception, that we have had a lot of the same staff for a long time. We have had some turnover, which is natural, but it has helped with not having so much turnover, just because we're not just allowing the behaviors to continue. And I think that's what's really important for our staff, is that they feel like they're being heard and they feel like we are actually being proactive and providing the support needed for these residents, to also in turn support the care staff in providing the care that's needed. I think the most important thing as leaders in this environment is that every single person, from the residents to the staff to the family members, need to be treated as individual people. And I think the more that you foster that type of culture, you will have people working for you because they trust in your vision of what you're doing. And because they got into it because they care in the first place. So if you're empowering them to be a part of that, and you're also supporting them and giving them the tools to do their job better and have that self-esteem improvement, and they can feel like they have power in the situation to actually be successful, then you're winning. And that's how you get people to not leave.
We've got time for one more question before Bruce wraps things up. We don't have another question.
Well, good.
Can
Actually,
we go to Bruce?
well, great. Thank you. So first of all, thank you guys so very much. This has been fantastic, really illuminating, and I think we all appreciate the effort you put into it and the amount of information you conveyed. Greatly appreciate it. And if any, I'll leave the window open for a little bit. If you have any final questions that you want to throw into the chat, I'll preserve the chat and we can pass along any unanswered questions, and we could potentially then send out a communication after we get back the answers. And thanks to our guests for coming and for our members for coming. And I just want to say that on March 25th, the last Thursday of next month, we have our member Thelma Reese will be presenting on her book that was recently published, How Seniors Are Saving the World. And we hope you will all join us for that and get the word out. And remember to go visit the social media and help plug it along. But thank you, David, for thinking of this good idea and pursuing it for 2 years. And Jeffrey and team, thank you all so much for your work on this. We greatly appreciate it. And Patricia, thank you for the meditation. So
Yay.
This was great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Can we
Great
come and
job,
visit?
guys.
Thank you.
Can we come and
Thank
visit the
you.
facility?
Of course.
Absolutely.
Who do we contact for that?
You can contact Jeffrey Brenner or myself, and you're more than welcome to come and take a visit, okay?
Great.
All righty. Take care.
Might never leave.
Yeah, right. I might have to charge you then.
I'm gonna put my email in the chat, so if anybody wants to contact me,
I'll put mine in there too.
and Cheryl as well, you guys are more than welcome to send us an email.
Absolutely.
It's been great. Thank you so much, Bruce, David. Thank you. I don't know what to say. We loved it. Thank you.
Yes.
Lots of fun, guys. Thank you for the opportunity.